Hi, everybody. My name is Lisa Brierley, and sitting beside me is my amazing husband, Scott Brierley. And this is episode 42 of our Soulmates and Suitcases podcast. And we're excited to have a special guest here from actually our side of the world right now. This is Natasha Braniff. We're going to get into a deep conversation with her. She sounds like she does some absolutely incredible, amazing things, and I've watched some of her social media sort of posts and has beautiful information, conversations, awarenesses, and we're excited to kind of get into this conversation with you. So, welcome, Natasha.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so looking forward to talking to you guys.
Awesome, awesome. Well, let's get started by just having you share a little bit about yourself, where you are in the world, and kind of what you do, and maybe a little bit about what's your goal right now? What's your hope right now? What are you kind of focusing on?
Oh, yeah, cool. Okay, so my name's Natasha. I'm from Southampton, so the very southernmost point of England in the UK. And I always find it really hard as to what to call myself because I do loads of different things. I have lots of different tools in my toolkit. But effectively, I'm predominantly a hypnotherapist, so I use hypnotherapy as my kind of main modality. But I'm working with people's subconscious mind. I'm working with their energy blocks in terms of their limiting beliefs, the things that they're holding in their field that are basically stopping them from moving forward and from what I like to see as from remembering who they are, like from remembering their true self. So my goal really with everyone I'm working with, I work predominantly with women, and that's just who I feel drawn to. I just want to help them become their true authentic self. And we all say that, don't we? Our true authentic self. But the way I see it is that we've kind of all come on into this earth with a mission, a sole purpose. And then, through the years, particularly in our childhood, we get programmed with all these beliefs about ourselves, about the world, about how, reality kind of works. And it kind of dulls our light. It makes us forget who we are, which is this multidimensional, limitless, amazing soul who has come in with a particular set of gifts, abilities, a mission to share with humanity. And yeah, so I just want to help people remember that. But whilst at the same time they're doing that, they're obviously it's going to help them enjoy life a lot more. So I mean, it's like it's so big, but in a nutshell, that's kind of my mission. That's what I'm working towards, and I'm kind of evolving what I do as I go along because a lot of the work that I do, I kind of started off with doing it on myself. So I kind of do the work on myself and then I'm like, right, that works. I could translate that over and now I want to help someone else with that. But obviously as I'm growing and evolving, I'm seeing that I can help people on, another level. So I'm also a past life regressionist. I'm trained in Dolores Cannon's QHHT method. I don't know whether you've heard of that.
No.
No, so it's a particular type of past life regression. So part of it is we regress to past lives, future lives, all kinds of crazy different lives, parallel lives. But then the second half of it, we channel through the person's higher self. And that's really, so we're working on the quantum realm, in the quantum realm. And basically, you can have healings from that. The higher self does, energy clearings, but it's just full of wisdom and love, and people get a taste of their higher self. I just was speaking to a client yesterday. I was working with her and she had a QHHT session a while ago, but she's also in my other program. And she just said, since I had that QHHT session and I've felt my higher self and I've touched her and tasted her, I'm just constantly like she's there and I know I can get to her now because it makes it tangible. And people just realize, oh, there's so much more to me than this human body, this one identity. Um, People get different kind of, things from it. Everybody's different. But I think what it really shows is that when you're working on that kind of quantum level, when I say that, I mean we're not just working in this 3D human life now. We're looking at that higher dimensional part of you, the multi-dimensional part of you. Things can happen instantly. People can walk in with a sore knee that they've had cartilage injuries for 10 plus years, and then they walk out and it's gone, or arthritis in their toe and it's gone. These are real examples. Heart issues gone. And it is incredible. But so from doing that, the reason I said that, so from doing that work, it's shown me a different way of using hypnotherapy, because I think when a lot of people talk about hypnotherapy, they think of stop smoking, lose weight, all the kind of, those kind of things. But I never really was interested in that surface level stuff. I always wanted to go deeper. So I started with, just going right to the source of those beliefs of I'm not enough, I'm not worthy of love, all the main limiting beliefs that everything else stems from. So I always wanted to go deeper, but now with doing the QHHT, it showed me a bigger, deeper level that I want to start going on now. So now my programs are evolving to include, visiting past lives, ancestral healing, releasing, bringing through the higher self, and just letting the higher self tell the person what they need to know. It's great for me because I'm not you go to therapy or counseling and people are kind of trying to tell you, well, you should do this, or maybe you should try doing this, or you're doing this because of this. I'm just like, I'll be the guide. Your higher self or your subconscious mind, depending on what level we're working on, is going to tell you and show you exactly what you need to know, because your subconscious mind holds all the answers. Even if you can't consciously remember them, they're in there. And I'm just really good at kind of pulling them out. And then it's embodied. It's not somebody else telling you this is why you're behaving in this way. You know it from within you, and it makes a shift like that. Sorry, that was a really long explanation, but
No, that was
I
fantastic. It
my
was
my little like spiny senses are going crazy. I feel
every
like I have so many questions I want to
well,
ask.
it is 100% when you like I've over the years I've gone for a lot of what I've termed now as talk therapy.
Mhm.
And that's pretty much all it is. Sure, I felt great when I was in the room talking about it. I'd walk out and be like, and till I found a lady that actually dealt with trauma, I won't say the proper way, but the way she deals with it within you, and she just keeps reminding you, if you keep talking about it, you're just going to keep reintroducing it to your body. Get
Yeah,
rid of it. And
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
so, yeah.
Yeah.
It's very fascinating. So what does hypnosis look like when you're working with a client in regards to looking at the past lives or other realms? Like what does it actually physically look like? And you do this in person, I'm assuming.
I can do both. I do. I work. Yeah, I've worked with people in Australia and America. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. It's as long as the person's in a quiet place, they can hear me okay, and the internet connection is good. Then it works both the same. So when you say what does it look like, what do you mean? Like how do they experience it? How do I do it?
Well, because a lot of us have that the past experience of, someone up on a stage and you're like literally like
Okay.
this and you're like in a
Yeah.
trance and you seem out of it. What what does it look like and what do you
Yeah.
ask your clients to do to kind of set that tone to be ready?
Yeah. So the first thing I do is I tell them, what do you know about hypnosis? What are your thoughts about hypnosis? Are you nervous coming in here with me? And most of them will say, I'm a little bit nervous. Because yeah, obviously we have grown up with stage hypnotists who make people cluck like chickens and
Yeah.
all the silly things. And I think the biggest fear is that I'm going to control as a hypnotherapist, I'm going to control you or make you do something. I absolutely cannot. Nobody, no hypnotherapist can do that unless you want them to. So stage hypnotists are very, very clever. I don't know whether you've seen them work or if you've watched
No.
them. No. So, but what they'll do is they'll kind of make everybody in the audience stand up and then they'll do certain things. And as they're doing it, they're basically testing who's suggestible and who wants to cluck like a chicken. So you'll see, they'll say, sit down, and they'll be left with maybe one or two people who are highly suggestible because deep down, they want to do it. They want, for whatever reason, they want to perform. They want that to happen to them. And their hypnotists are very, very brave and they're very good at what they do. But it's for entertainment, right? So they are not controlling them. They're just helping someone do what they want to do. So in a therapy setting, a hypnotherapist is obviously using it for therapy. So again, like I said, I can't control anyone. All hypnosis is self-hypnosis. So I can guide you into hypnosis. But if the person in my chair is saying, I know you're not going to hypnotize me. No, this isn't going to work. There's nothing I could do. I could sit there all day and it wouldn't work.
Would it
Mm.
be kind of like meditation in a way, but a little deeper?
So I always say like hypnosis, meditation, you're in the same kind of brainwave state. When you're going into hypnosis, you go into like the alpha theta state, and those are the states that you go into when you meditate. So it's effectively for you experiencing it, you're experiencing the exact same thing, whether you're in hypnosis or a meditation. It's just the way that you use that state. So obviously, as a hypnotherapist, I'm going to use that state to access your subconscious mind and reprogram it. Because when you're in that state, effectively, I'm in the operating system of your brain. So your conscious mind goes to the back and your subconscious mind comes forward. The conscious mind blocks, it has all the blockers which says, well, that won't happen for me, or, well, that's crazy. That won't. When that goes away, your subconscious mind is like a sponge. It's like a small child who is just like, yes, tell me what to do and I'll do it. And that's why I'm using it. Obviously, in meditation, you're using it in more of a kind of quiet way to connect. What this is how I see it anyway. You're connecting in kind of like just with your inner landscape. You're not actively trying to change anything. You're listening, really, aren't you? Like, but with
Mhm.
hypnosis, we're programming because I'm talking to you. Um, so yeah, so if we hypnosis and being in hypnosis or being hypnotized, it's got so much stigma attached to it and so many myths. But honestly, what I tell everybody is that hypnosis is such a natural state to you. We're in hypnosis all throughout the day when you're driving and you think, how did I get here? Like
That's
when
true.
you're on
Scrolling,
autopilot,
scrolling
scroll
for hours.
and that's a dangerous one, right? When you're scrolling in hypnosis, because like I said, I've just told you, we get when you're in hypnosis, you're in open blank state and you're just absorbing everything. So be careful what you're scrolling and watching because that's going straight into your operating system. So make sure that it's good stuff. But as you drift into sleep and as you're waking up, those states where you kind of you're aware that you're coming around, but you're still in a bit of a dreamy state. That's the perfect example of hypnosis. And that's what my clients mostly feel like when I work with them. They're in that state where they'll kind of be coming in and out and they'll hear my voice and then they'll kind of come to and they'll think, oh, she's talking again. And then they'll go back in to wherever they're going. So as a client experiencing hypnosis, it's really, really pleasant. You don't really remember much of what's gone on. You just feel like you've had a really lovely rest. Your nervous system has just had a chance to completely calm down, which is just one of the side benefits of having hypnosis because we're just regulating your nervous system. And the more you have it, because I work with my clients long term, the more you have it, the more you're training your nervous system. As soon as people hear my voice, they just go and just calm, which is just wonderful because I make them. I get them to listen to a hypnosis audio every night whilst they're falling asleep because
Ah,
obviously we're using that state of hypnosis. They don't have to add any extra time. They're going to bed anyway, but it's like that perfect state. So they're constantly listening to my voice every night. And which makes it so much easier in a therapy room because they come in, I don't really have to do much. They just listen to my voice for a few minutes and they're already in that state. But yeah, so it's a really, really pleasant state. Everybody kind of has their own experiences of it, depending on I personally think how connected you are, maybe and like how sensitive you are to energy, and also how if you've done a lot of meditation, if you're kind of in that spiritual world, I feel like they have a bit more of a expanded experience. Having said that, though, people surprise me. I never judge anyone anymore. When someone comes in, the people that you think are going to be the hardest to get into hypnosis. So I've worked with a lot of people with ADHD who, in their obviously waking lives, are manic, they never stop, and they go straight into hypnosis beautifully. And they have some of like they're like some of the best people to work with. So everybody's different, but whether or not you experience it in that way, it is still working. It because people will come out and say, "Well, I don't know, did it work? Has it worked?" Yes, it absolutely has, and time tells with that. But it is funny because it does make me laugh when people say, "Oh, I don't think you'll be able to hypnotize me." I just kind of have a little chuckle and say, "Okay."
It's very extremely fascinating. So I want a little more clarification on one thing. So it's not a one and done, right? So you don't just go in a session, you get hypnotized and then, or in a hypnosis state, and then you're fixed per se. So we're talking about changing things. Like you talked about, they get to play that the hypnosis music or whatever that is every evening. So that's a new habit that they're creating, right? So what else are you looking at in regards to like either sustaining or growing even more, or dealing with some of those things that maybe the clients are going through? So like, what's the after?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is where I kind of I shifted away from how we're taught traditionally to use hypnotherapy, and I kind of created my own way of doing it because I noticed that very thing. Like it didn't, we would have one-off sessions, or I'd work with people for maybe 3 or 4 weeks. But obviously, in between the sessions, I wasn't having any contact with them, and it just didn't feel right to me. I felt like the subconscious mind learns by repetition. So
Yes.
it's really important. It's like those neural pathways. We have to keep using them until they form a new connection, right? So if they're coming in and we're doing some work in a session and then I don't see them again for a week or two, they're not connecting those pathways because we need to be reminded, we're putting in different behaviors, we're learning to see the world or look at ourselves in a different way. You need constant reminding of that because otherwise we're just going to fall back to those old pathways. So I really noticed that and it didn't sit right with me. So I thought I want to create something where I get to be with them for a certain amount of time. So every day we can be reinforcing the work that we've done in the sessions and the reprogramming that's happening at nighttime because the hypnosis audio, so there it's my voice speaking and I create bespoke hypnosis audios specifically aimed at the things that I'm dealing with that client. So everyone's are different. So they're listening to that every night for a reason. Now, a lot of hypnotherapists don't do that, which blows my mind because again, we all know that the subconscious learns by repetition. So that's really, really important to me. So we're coming at it in all these kind of ways. I am just doing everything I can to make sure that we are reinforcing those new behaviors, those new thought patterns. So I have 3.5 month programs and 6.5 month programs. And whilst the people are in that container with me for 3.5 months, I give them access to me through the Telegram app. And then they can contact me. Like I encourage them to use me every day, to kind of mind dump, tell me about situations that have happened in their life. Because the thing is with hypnosis, when we're reprogramming, we're creating new identities, new beliefs. It's all well and good if we're doing this work. I mean, I'm sure you guys know we all get stuck in this, don't we? We can intellectualize a lot of things. We
Yes.
love taking all the information and we can understand everything, about ourselves. And I did this because of that. And this is the limiting belief I have. But if you don't put it into your everyday life and put it into practice, again, those neural pathways aren't going to connect. So what I try and do is I get them to live their everyday life and we use their life as a kind of working experiment. So as something will happen, say in their relationship, and they'll say this and this and this and happened with my partner. And then we'll talk through the kind of dynamics of what's going on underneath the surface. I can reflect back to them. So I'm quite intuitive. So I can kind of see I don't know how to explain it, but I talk to a person and I can see where your limiting beliefs are. I can see what beliefs are playing into what and how you're doing that in every single area of your life. My brain's really good at picking up patterns. And so I can say, right, it looks like you're doing this, this, this. And then it gives people that aha moment. They're like, oh, my gosh, how have I not seen that? Now it's so clear. And that's what I'm trying to do. My whole aim is to bring what's in your subconscious into your conscious mind. So now it's tangible. Because the problem is when you're doing these things on a subconscious level, you have no control over them because you have no awareness of it. It's subconscious. Once you bring it out of there and into your conscious mind, you can't unsee it. And then once you have the awareness, that's the key to everything. Then you can start seeing it yourself, doing it in every single area of your life, and then you can start changing it. So that's really how I help people make the lasting changes. It's not just, I'm going to give you hypnosis for the limiting belief of I'm not enough and I'm not worthy. We're doing it constantly in everyday life. We're making them put it into practice, which is uncomfortable, but you've then also got me going, that's amazing. Like you did this, well done. And there's so much involved with this contact that we have outside the sessions, and it makes the sessions that we have even more potent because I know what's going on with them. We've done loads of work outside the sessions, and now we can just come in and I can really like zone in on either creating a hypnosis audio that's going to work specifically for the beliefs we've seen come up, or I can use it to do a regression because Scott, you were saying about trauma. A lot of what I do is I regress back to current lifetime as well, not just past lifetime, to childhood trauma, and we work out kind of where you first learned to believe that you're not worthy of love, or where you first learned to believe that you're not good enough. And we do the inner child healing around that. And obviously, there's a lot of wisdom in exploring that. And then I can take that information and plug it into a hypnosis audio the next time. So like that information is literally pure gold because it's come from you, from your inner child, from your subconscious. And then I'm just basically using that to reprogram you every night as you go to sleep.
Extremely fascinating. Extremely.
So just like I find, do you encourage your clients to pursue other stuff when they're finished with you? Because I know for myself, like I would get healthy and then I would stop doing it and just go back to my old life, and it would slowly just go like this and twist back in. And it wasn't until I continued to listen to audiobooks and put good people in my life and have amazing conversations like this with people and learn more is what's kept me up this time. And because I've
Yeah.
spent, like a lot of people have spent years and years trying to change their lives to more of what they want. And now I'm living a life that blows my mind away at how I even got here. However, I know it's going to get better.
Yeah.
Like it's bizarre. Like before it was all doom and gloom, and now it's like, where are we going to end up? Like,
Yeah, but that's the perfect example because what
Yeah.
you've done there by doing all the things you've done, like you said, listening to audiobooks, filling yourself around with the right people, you have reprogrammed your subconscious mind to change your perspective of your mindset. So you've gone from, kind of if scarcity, life is difficult, all those beliefs that make you think life is hard, I'm not gonna do anything like blah, all of those kind of things. And you've rewired your subconscious into life gets to be great, that life gets better and better, things are always working out for me. Like you can see how you've done that, and that's why hypnotherapy is so powerful. And I have nothing against talk therapy or counseling or any of that because I think it's necessary, and I think we're all in different stages and there's different people and different modalities for the different levels of where you're at. I think that talk therapy is great until it's not, and then you need
yeah,
something more like you kind of experience. So I'm kind of like the part after that. And the great thing about hypnotherapy is we're not just talking about it and rehashing it. I'm literally reprogramming your subconscious mind, and I'm taking the root, I'm going back to the root. So it's like doing, with talk therapy, or even things where you're doing the mindset work and you're trying to think differently. If you're doing it all on, like I said, on a conscious level, I'm just going to read loads of books on an intellectual level, it's like putting a plaster over a wound. So the wound is still there, that plaster is not going to stitch it up because the wound's too deep, the root's still there, and so the plaster might cover it up, but it doesn't take much to pull that plaster off and there's the wound again, it's still there. With hypnotherapy, what we do, it's like we go in, we operate, we stitch up we pull the infection out at the root where it came from, and then we stitch it up and we close it, and so you can't go back. So we're literally changing your brain chemistry whilst we're and the neural pathways in the hypnotherapy. So you've got more likelihood of not going back to your old behaviors because you've closed that path off. And like I said, you've gone back, you've seen the reason for all the behaviors. You've gone to, it's incredible how all of the problems that manifest in your life as an adult, we dig down. By the time we've finished the program, we've dug down to say one event in your childhood that seems so insignificant, but yet you can see where every single one of those limiting beliefs started, which have then spiraled into all the things that mean, you don't have any confidence when you're speaking up for yourself, you can't set boundaries, all the things like relationship problems, everything comes from this one small event that happened because your subconscious mind is so literal when you're a child, and it makes everything mean about yourself. So your mum and dad could be arguing. You could, as a 3-year-old, you could have sat there and think they're arguing because I'm not good enough. Maybe as a child you had, I don't know, drawn on the wall, let's just say, and it starts off an argument between your mum and dad. Now, that was never about, as adults, we know that would have never have been about the baby drawing on the wall. There'll have been stuff going on in their relationship, or they were just overwhelmed, or their nervous systems were dysregulated. They've had an argument, but that baby will make that mean I am not lovable, and then everything starts from there. So to answer your point, your question, Scott, is that when we get to that root and we realize that's where it came from, you can your mind all of a sudden goes, oh, that was never true, and everything kind of breaks away from there. And this is why you don't go back, because you can't unsee what you've now brought to the surface. Now, that's not to say that it's you have hypnotherapy and then there you go, off you go, life's amazing, and you'll never go back. You don't go back, but every time you move forward and you grow, you're going to hit a new level. So the old beliefs are going to rear their head again. They say new level,
Yeah.
Yeah.
new devil. Those old beliefs will rear their head again, but this time, and this is why I like doing my programs, I love educating people about their subconscious mind. I love educating them around why we're doing the work and why it works. So the next time they reach that block again, the same thing, they can immediately recognize it. They know what they have to do, they know what they have to say, and they have the tools and skills themselves to be able to work through it. They don't need me or anybody else. They know what to do. Now, if that does involve then going to see somebody else who's going to say help them with money problems because they've realized, this is a money thing, they can go and get some help from a money expert. But what they've done is they've now just got the awareness so that they are able to help themselves in whatever way they need to. Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yes.
actually had an experience like that this summer.
Mm.
I won't go into the whole story, but my older brother and I didn't talk for like 35 years, and we've been back in each other's lives for 3 or 4. And I went and spent a month at his house. And we were working on some renovation projects, and it's like we butted heads bad. And
Mm,
I go up to the room I was staying in, and I'm in complete pack my bags and get out of there. And I lay
mm,
down in bed, and all of a sudden it's like, you're in fight and or flight mode. You don't need to be here. And it went completely away just like that. I
mm,
mean, obviously the feelings didn't, but the fight or flight mode went away, and I was able to show up the next day completely different. And so it was pretty cool. And it's been doing stuff, not necessarily, I haven't done hypnotherapist, but I've done a
mm,
bunch of other stuff that
mm.
has led me to this. And it's one of the reasons why I love the podcast is I want people that are maybe not like me, but working on themselves to know, don't stop. Like
Yeah.
you'll find your solution somewhere.
Yes, absolutely. And not everyone's is going to be hypnotherapy. Like you said, you haven't done hypnotherapy, but you've done this work. There's so many modalities out there, and it is just about finding the right one that resonates with you. The main thing is that you want to work with your subconscious mind. However that looks, like whoever you're going to be working with, you need to be working on a subconscious level, not on a conscious level, because subconscious is where the changes are. That's the most
Exactly.
important thing.
So when you, Natasha, look back at kind of at your life, where did you see sort of a pivotal time for you where you kind of said, I need to do this, or like that something happened that you kind of like that I need to do
Yeah.
something to help people because this is important. Yeah.
Yeah. So from the time from like, oh my gosh, I was about 4, and I remember thinking, I want to be a doctor. Like what 4-year-old thinks that? I can really, really so clearly remember I'm going to be a doctor. I want to be a doctor. And that was it. It was like a decision was made at 4, and I kind of went through my life and I ended up at med school. And now people like that's just a huge career path, you know? It's really hard to do it, and that people put a lot of planning, a lot of effort. Like I didn't, and it just kind of happened because I never thought that I wasn't going to be a doctor. So I went to med school. I knew I wanted to help people. Like that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to care for people. I was always the kind of caring, sensitive kid. I was quiet, you know. Anyway, I went to med school and I left in my 3rd year because it was just, I think I was just too soft. I just realized in there, like I tried to stick it out as long as I could, but I just realized I can't handle the responsibility of having people's lives in my hands and losing them because inevitably you will. And I couldn't bear it. So yeah, I left. And then I kind of had oh my God, who am I? Who am I now? 'Cause from 4 years old, I'm now like 21 and I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know who I am. Anyway, I ended up getting married and having kids, and I kind of did the whole mum housewife thing for a long time. And after my kids got a bit older, I didn't realize, but I started like, I need more than this. I know that, you know, like I loved being at home with my kids and I felt so grateful that I could be at home with them and I wanted to. But I started getting an itch to do something like I'm meant for more, but I don't know what. Anyway, fast forward to 2020. Good old 2020. But my mum got sick and she was diagnosed with lung cancer, and I was really, really close to my mum. My mum was my person, and she was diagnosed in the July, and then she had died by the October November. And it was like it was really quick. We always thought like my mum was going to be the one that outlasted everyone. So it was a real shock. It completely turned my world upside down. It just turned everything 180 on its axis. So before my mum's before my mum died, I was like, science is God. You know, I wasn't into any of the alternative stuff. Obviously, being at med school, they kind of programmed us to think complementary alternative therapies are a load of rubbish. Medicine is the way. And I was very much like that. Now, I always say kind of I was a bit of an atheist. I wasn't really, because throughout my whole like childhood, I was a very sensitive child. I had like stuff with where I would pick up on energies and I'd see things and be scared like ghosts and all the stuff, and I blocked it out because it terrified me. So then I went down, because I was so scared, I kind of went down the route of I don't want to even entertain this. There is no God. It's just the Big Bang. We're here, then we die and we're gone kind of thing. When my mum died, like the day after she died, I remember where I was. I was in my kitchen and I just thought I cannot carry on living if I have to believe that my mum just has faded into existence. She just is no longer in existence. And so I felt something, I can't explain it, but I felt something shift in my brain, in like my whole being at that moment. And from that point, I kind of set out to prove that she did still exist in some capacity. And then it just sent me down this path with like this like spiritual path. And my mum was always kind of into that stuff, so I grew up with it, you know, really. And anyway, so I just kind of followed the breadcrumbs, and it completely broke my belief system. And I felt like I was remembering it rather than, you know, I would read stuff about near-death experiences, and I'd listen to podcasts on near-death experiences and life after death and all the things. And it just felt right to me. Now, it really helped me with my grief. But then once I started working through my grief and I kind of came out the other side, I was like, this is what I'm supposed to do. And I realized I just want to help people, but it wasn't being a doctor. And then I fell into hypnotherapy. Honestly, it was a series of synchronicities and coincidences. Can't even tell you how it happened, but I went into that hypnotherapy training room the first day and I just thought, I know this stuff. Like, I don't know why I know it, but this just makes absolute sense to me. And like I said, I felt like I was remembering it. And I kind of just, I went from there. And then, I was doing my hypnotherapy thing, which was all the subconscious mind and all of that kind of stuff. But I was also on my kind of spiritual awakening path and I was getting into all that as well. And I looked and I just thought, I need to merge these two together because it doesn't feel right to not have the spiritual kind of aspect within the hypnotherapy because I felt like I was cheating people that I was working with by not bringing that together because I still kept my hypnotherapy fairly scientific. I'm like, this is fact. This is how we work. We're working brain states, da 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 da. But it felt wrong because I know for me, if I hadn't incorporated the spiritual side of things, seeing ourselves as multidimensional rather than just this one life, I wasn't helping them in the full capacity that I know I could. And that's kind of how I merged together my own kind of programs and the way that I work with clients now on a more kind of, yeah, on a more spiritual, bigger, multidimensional level than your regular hypnotherapist.
Amazing. So it felt natural, a
Yeah.
natural place to be.
Yeah.
So for somebody like the way I was, my trust issue, like got to the point where I didn't trust anybody.
Mm,
Now, are you able to work with people like that that can come to you with no trust and
yeah.
struggle for trust?
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, anything because what I've learned from working with so many people now is that we are all the same. Like we humans are funny because we make things so complicated
Yeah.
and you know we have all these things that manifest in our life, all our issues, the things that how it appears in our life. But when we actually start doing the work and we get down to what's really going on at the root of things, which is obviously what I'm trying to do all the time, it's always the same thing. It's always the same. There's always the same core beliefs. You don't believe that you're worthy, you don't believe that you're enough, and something's happened to you more than likely in your childhood that has made you not trust someone. Something, and like I said, it doesn't, people always think that it has to be these huge traumas, or people will say, well, nothing really bad. I had a good childhood. Nothing really happened in, my childhood.
That's our
None of
difference.
us. Right. None of us escape childhood without trauma.
Yeah.
And trauma is not what what people think it is.
No.
It's just it's how your body like reacts in the moment that, this thing happened to you and what it makes it mean about you. So you will always have your trust issues will come down to something that happened to you when you were, a child and what you made that mean about yourself. But then obviously, for me, I also know that there are past lives and you can bring in themes that that you keep repeating over lives. And it's like you've come into this one and you're like, right, I still haven't cracked it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it this time round. But this is where you start getting into the realms of, you chose to come in. I know some people don't agree with this, is where people kind of split off. But I believe from my experience of working with lots and lots of people doing past life regressions, that we choose where we come into the world. We choose who our parents are. We choose by choosing our parents, we know we're coming into a particular atmosphere and things that are going to happen, and then we put ourselves in there, so it's going to set that theme off again, and we're going to go, this time I'm going to break it, this time I'm going to do something different so I don't have to do it again. Because, and that's not from a suffering, I don't see it from a suffering perspective. We're souls, we're multidimensional souls, we're living many many lives, and all we want to do is we want to learn and grow. And earth is like a really tough school where we come down and we think, right, we're gonna be in polarity where there's, good and bad and, difficult things that happen to us because we want to learn, we want to grow from it. Because I'm sure everybody listening and you guys can think of a really, really tough time, something that's, when you look at it, is really horrible and hard to go through in the moment, but you've come out stronger from it. We've come out learning something and you've come out better for it on the other side. You couldn't say it when you were in it. And it doesn't mean that, like you're making any excuses for the things that have happened or what people have done to you, but actually it's been beneficial to you. And I think that's why we've come down here and that's why we're doing what we're doing.
It's an incredible journey for sure, this thing called life. And
Mm.
I know you also have a podcast as well. And so not only you do, you work so much with your clients, what are you doing or what's your focus on your podcast?
So the podcast really, like we started that because I just felt like I wanted to talk about these bigger kind of concepts that you can't talk in short form, social media clips. And we talk about it's science, psychology, spirituality, kind of merge all the mindset, all the subconscious stuff with the spiritual world. And effectively, like our mission with the podcast is just to help people expand their consciousness, expand their awareness. So we're trying to we have big conversations, we bring in guests from all kind of areas of working outside the realms of kind of normal life, just to like show people like these are normal people, but look what they're doing, and look, can you see how there is so much more going on in the unseen world than you realize? And the reason that I want to do that is because there's only so much work on yourself and understanding you can have with yourself if you're looking at it from just I'm Lisa or I'm Scott. Once you start opening up and looking at yourself as, oh, I've been, all these people before me, and I have ancestral trauma that I have brought with me as well. And there's lots of other things at play. There's lots of other things going on, like meaning you can create your own reality, that we're just energy and everything is always energy first. Well, then all of a sudden it just blows everything wide open, and you can get such a better understanding of yourself. And therefore, because we are still on earth and we are still living a human life, you can live a life that's much more fulfilling and you can achieve your potential. And like I said from the very start, you can then step into your soul mission and do what you want to, what you've come here to do.
Love it.
Lisa brought up this thing she read on, I think it was from one of the doctor, like Dr. Gabor Mate or something, and he was talking about a family, and not one of the kids grow up in the same household.
Yeah.
And it makes so much sense, and we put
Yeah.
so much emphasis on my parents didn't treat me like they treated my brother. Well, they weren't the same people.
Yes, they
Yeah.
evolved
And then
over
the
that
kids have
time.
evolved and changed, and it's when it stuff like that makes my because I grew up in a really dysfunctional home, and it just got I was the youngest and I was the worst or the most out of control.
Mm,
And it but a statement like that makes sense why I was.
yeah. Yeah.
Because everybody digressed down and instead of digressing up where some families do and some families don't. And I'm grateful for it because I wouldn't be the man I am today if I hadn't have lived that life.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So
There's so many lessons that you've
yeah.
learned from it, isn't there? Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. And what I've also have seen from my work is that siblings are your biggest
Nemesis.
um, yes, they're like your biggest. I feel sure that they're like your bestest friends. You love as a soul, like you love them. They're like, I'm gonna come down and I'm gonna be your brother or your sister, and we're gonna go hard. I'm gonna teach you some really, really hardcore lessons. I love you. I'll see you down there. And then, yeah, because they're with you throughout. They're there from the start, especially you being the
Yeah.
youngest. All of them were there from the you've not known life without them, right?
Yeah.
And they're all there, and the dynamics that play out in that sibling relationship, there's nothing like them anywhere else. And a lot of your beliefs, a lot of the thoughts about yourself will stem from your relationships with your siblings and the dynamic between your parents as well. It's a complicated one, and there's a lot of work that I do around siblings for sure.
It's funny. I got diagnosed with ADHD a couple of years ago, and you brought it up. I was going to ask you the question too, but
Mm.
anyways, so I'm listening to this book from Dr. Amen, and he's explaining this situation about this kid that If he has a problem with his mom in the morning, he goes to school and doesn't have a problem with his teacher. But if he has no problems with his mom, he has problems with his teacher. Well, my brother that I've talked about, he was my nemesis and he beat me senseless lots.
Mm.
However, as I was listening to this doctor talk about it, what did I do? I would be like this. Now, why would I want him to beat me up? I have no idea. That part, I don't need to know that.
Mm-mm.
However, though, I had to take ownership in that of my behaviors. However, when I told him, he was just like, "Oh, that was then. Who cares?" Like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it has nothing to do with him, anyways. It's about changing my part and
Yeah.
my
Your understanding, your
and
story.
yeah, energy.
Yeah.
100%. And that right there is the most important thing with this work as well, because the more you kind of dig into this work and you start looking at why you are the way you are, the more compassionate and understanding you can become about other people, because you do take responsibility, and it's not blame. It's very
No,
different. It's responsibility.
yeah,
And that is empowering. The conversations around this like victim mindset thing can be really triggering for people, but and, because I think you have to work your way there. I know because, years ago I would be triggered by it. I know I was triggered by it, by conversations. And then you get to a point and you're like, oh, I understand. I'm taking responsibility for this because this gives me power. This isn't like a blame
Yeah.
thing. And
100%.
this is really, really powerful. And when you can do that, then your life just becomes so much easier to live, because in every moment you're not thinking about everybody else and what they've done to you or how they're making you feel. You're like, I'm allowing this person to make me feel this way, but I'm in control. And again, it comes back to control. It's the same thing as, like I said, once you have the subconscious come into the conscious, you've got control. When you take responsibility for yourself and your actions, you again have control. And when you have the control, you feel empowered and you can change things.
Yeah.
You
It's
manipulate reality.
a beautiful place to be, right?
Yeah.
Since you've been on your journey,
Mm.
how much of is like your relationship with your kids and your husband and your siblings, if you have siblings,
Yeah.
how
Hmm.
much have they changed? Like I'm almost going to say 100% just by looking
Yeah.
at your face, but
Yeah. 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 Like, yes. So I've always had a difficult relationship with my sister. That's changed a lot. And actually, well, I've done a lot of things. I've done a lot of things that I should have done a long time ago. And it's maybe, and this is the thing, when you do this work, sometimes people drift out of your life, and sometimes,
yeah,
people come closer. I think from me and my sister, we've both kind of drifted apart because it's had to happen. It's the only way that it can happen, but not in a I'm not talking to her kind of way, just in a this is how it is for both of us. It's kind of mutual, and it kind of almost it's inevitable. It just happens. But with my kids and my husband, we've just got so much closer. Like, our relationship has grown. Now it didn't just go, oh, this is amazing. Oh no,
yeah,
there was definitely like rocky ups and downs, and we're kind of like working through. You could become a different person when you do this work, don't you? So,
yeah,
like, I was one person when my husband and I met, and then obviously before all this stuff, and then I've changed a lot. And I think then you get to the point where are they going to come up and meet you? Are they going to think, oh, I like this person, and are they willing to do the work as well? Because I think that's definitely it as well. Which fortunately we did, but I do think sometimes as well people could be like, who are you? I don't know who you are, and I don't like this, and then you drift away. And that's the difficult thing about doing this work. You will lose people, and sometimes it is family members, but if you trust that you just stay in your lane and you do what you need to do for you, it's gonna work out. It's gonna work out for the best for you anyway, no matter what it looks like in the external.
Yeah, everything always
I
works out perfectly.
I went through a phase like that, and I'm still kind of going through the phase that it's like I'm losing friends.
Just a brief pause in the show. If you'd like to dive deeper into our work, our books are available on Amazon. You can also get instant electronic copies at payhip.com/Lisa Scott Brearley authors. Now, back to the show.
However,
Hmm.
the friends I'm getting
Gaining.
or gaining,
Hmm.
the conversations are so deep, and
Yeah.
it's not about how you said, like I had an hour bit video call with a buddy the other day that he was talking about an issue he had, And I just kept on, well, what are you getting out of that? What are you getting
Mhm.
out of that? And then he goes, well, what do you do? And I said, well, a lot of times I don't react now because I'm not willing to eat crow when I
This
got to
is
go
the
back
saying.
and say, I'm sorry. All
Yeah.
right, how can I fix what I created between us rather than even saying I'm sorry? And I said, I'm not willing to do that today.
Mhm. Mhm.
And he was like, oh. And you could see the whole bubble burst just by me saying what I would do rather than what he needed to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you become, well, I know I've seen this for my kids as well. Like, and my friends actually, you become so much better at giving advice because you're not telling people what to do. Just
Yeah.
like you said, you kind of, you're just being neutral and you're like, how about see it this way? I don't know. I feel like it's just so much easier to be there and help people because you're not putting your stuff on them and you're not coming from that place of victimhood and perpetuate.
Yeah.
You're trying to empower them because you know you've already done it for yourself. And I
Yeah.
think that's the best thing we can do. And I'm so grateful that I have well, my kids are 17 and 14 now, but when I started this journey, they were a lot younger. And I'm so grateful that know the things that I know because they're being brought up in a completely different paradigm than I was brought up in my generation. They're growing up knowing that they get to like choose how they feel, that they can manage their emotions, that, about their nervous system regulation. And it's just like I see them, I see how they're starting to see the world, and I'm just like, oh, thank God. Thank God.
Nice.
You're not going to be having to do all this work that our generations are having to undo. They're not having to do that. They get to start, like, don't get me wrong, they're still going to probably sit in a therapist chair one day and go, my mum did this or my dad did this. Like, we can't, we're humans. We
No.
can't do it.
Yes.
Doesn't matter how much we know. We can't. We're just, but hopefully there'll be less of that deeper kind of, stuff that they have to dig through. And it's only going to get better, I think, as the generations go on with this knowledge and awareness that we all have now.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I, I'm, I'm happy, very glad, grateful. I'm growing up, or I don't know, growing up in this world we are right now, because yeah, that truly is what's happening. It's like this release of my big word is love. This release of love and compassion and understanding and this awareness that we're all unique people and we all have our own thing, and it's okay if you don't gel with that person or you don't gel or align with that person, and you can focus on yourself because you're worth it. Like that's a big thing, and I think it's just so cool. I don't know if it's just more out there or is it because I'm open to more out there. I'm not sure exactly what's happening,
Mhm.
but it's really
I,
cool.
I
I
think it's
do
a
feel
little bit
like
of
it's getting
both
bigger.
because the
Yeah.
internet has brought everything out more, but they were doing Tony Robbins sort of stuff in the 50s.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
lots of that stuff. So we're coming close to the end of our conversation. It's been an amazing conversation, and we really appreciate your time and your expertise, Natasha. And
Final pause. If you've got a message on your heart and want to be our guest, don't be shy. We'd love to hear from you. Visit forwardwalkingchoices.com, scroll to the Soulmates and Suitcases podcast section, and click Apply Here. Now back to the show.
where can our audience get a hold of you? How can they get a hold of you if they'd like to connect?
So I'm on all the kind of platforms, Instagram, Natasha B Hypnotherapy, Facebook, Natasha Braniff Hypnotherapy, and then obviously our podcast as well, which you can find YouTube and Spotify and all the podcast platforms. That's called Be Your Best You with Tash and Becky. I co-host it with my best friend. So yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
Nice.
Well, wonderful. Thank you very much, Natasha. And I think we'll sign
Well,
off with
traditional
our
tie.
traditional Thai way. Well, let's say very much this time. You teach me. I forget how it
I
goes.
can't. Oh, Kapun Makrap.
And kapun maka.
Aw. And what does that mean?
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me, guys. I've loved having this
This has
conversation.
been
It's been awesome.
It's
fantastic.
been awesome.
But I think
Another
you've
connection.
opened up another rabbit door for me, I think.
I think so.
Uh-oh.
I think you might be doing some research.
Yeah.
He's been kind of wild in terms of on fire, I guess the word is, with looking up how you can further understanding of himself and
Well, I spent years around 12-step programs and then took this one self-help 3-day weekend. And how dare they? They were trying to upsell me to the next course. And I went out to my Harley that in Canada, they're like, my bike's probably 40 grand. And the only reason I'm saying that, my bike mechanic, if he told me I had to put 5 grand into it tomorrow, I would have my credit card out the heartbeat.
Yeah.
So I'm mad and I go out there and I go to put my leg over the bike and it's like, I think of all that and it's like, but you won't put any money into yourself.
Thank goodness he did, because that's where he met me.
Since then,
Oh.
I have no problem investing in what we as humans need to invest in, not
Yeah.
Totally agree. I totally agree. And I had to learn that lesson as well. And I remember the time when I was like, right, okay, yes, it's me. Like this is an investment in me and it's so worth it. And it's been worth it every single time. And it doesn't matter the results you get out of it. I just think that the fact that you are actually taking that step and having the courage to invest in yourself, that does wonders for teaching your subconscious that I am worthy and I'm worth it. So yeah,
Love
awesome.
it.
awesome.
I love it.
Thanks very much.
Thank you guys.
Hate it.
Bye.
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 Want to get our books fast and at the best price? Get your electronic copy at https://payhip.com/Lisa Scott Brearley authors. Again, that's https://payhip.com/Lisa Scott Brearley authors.
Rest of